You've been told that the reason you're not closing consistently is that you need better scripts. You need better word tracks, better rebuttals for every objection. So you believed it. You bought the scripts, you drilled them, you memorized all of the things, and you are still not closing consistently. Here is the truth that nobody is telling you. The scripts are the problem. I know that sounds crazy bananas, but just stay with me here, okay? I'm not telling you that structure doesn't matter or that you should wing it on your calls. What I'm telling you is that the way that 90% of people are using scripts is the exact reason why they're stuck. And the fix is not a better script. It's a completely different relationship with the words that are coming out of your mouth, okay? I went from being a burnt out nursing student to personally collecting 3.4 million in sales. And I did it without a script. I did it from my parents' attic with a beige wall, a cheap webcam, and a $20 headset from Amazon. And I closed from there because of what I believed, not what I memorized. So here's what actually works and why it's the opposite of what you've been taught. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why scripts fail, not because they're bad, but because of how scripts work in the human brain. You are going to understand what actually creates the outcomes you want on your calls, and you're going to have a completely different framework for how to prepare for and run all of your sales calls moving forward. Let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about why scripts fail even when they're technically correct. So this is the part that nobody explains. Second, we're going to talk about what the prospect is actually responding to when they say yes, because it's not your words. Third, we're diving into the difference between scripted language and convicted language and how a prospect tells them apart before you've even finished your first sentence. And last but not least, what to actually do instead of memorizing scripts. I'll give you the specific framework that I use to prepare for every call, and it takes about 2 minutes. So let's start with why scripts fail. All right, here's the mechanism. Pay attention to this because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. When you read from a script or recite something that you've memorized, your brain is doing a very specific kind of work. It's retrieving, it's checking. What's the next thing I'm supposed to say? What word comes after this word? Is this the right moment to use this word track or should I use the other word track? That retrieval process takes up cognitive bandwidth, and it's the same bandwidth that you need to actually listen. Make it make sense. You cannot be fully present with the person you're talking to and check your script at the same time. And so when you're new to a script or the call goes someplace unexpected, the script wins because you are half present. The prospect feels that half presence. They can't quite name it, but they could feel it. And they feel like they're talking to someone who's performing rather than connecting. And the moment they feel performed at instead of heard, the call changes. The walls go up. The defensiveness comes in. This is why you can execute a technically perfect script and still lose the deal. Because the execution was perfect, but the human element was absent. Scripts fail because they completely separate your words from your intention, and people don't buy your words. By the way, this is why you can have all these different things that you feel are hindering you. For example, a stutter or an accent, or just being nervous or awkward, and people will still buy from you as long as you have conviction when you speak. Okay, so let's talk about what the prospect's actually responding to. Think about some of the best calls you've ever had. The ones where it flows and people share things that they probably weren't planning on sharing. And by the end of the call, it's an easy yes without you having to push. What was so different about that call? Well, I will tell you what it wasn't. It wasn't that you used the perfect reframe when they pushed back. It wasn't the perfect sequence of discovery questions. It wasn't the way that you transitioned into your pitch. It was that you were actually there. You were listening. You were curious. You followed their thread instead of yours. And when they said something that hinted at something deeper, you went there because you were interested in them, not in your next line in your script. The prospect didn't say yes because your words were so perfect. It's because they felt heard. They felt like the person on the other end of the call actually cares about what happens to them, not about making a commission. And that feeling cannot be scripted. It can only be either present or absent. And here's what I want you to sit with. The closers I work with are not impressive because of what they say. They're impressive because of how deeply they listen. The words are secondary. The skill is in listening. When you're focused on a script, you're waiting for your turn. When you're present, you're following theirs. Those two are completely different calls. So now let's get into scripted language versus convicted language. Here's the specific thing a prospect hears that tells them that you actually mean what you're saying. And it's not your tone for all of my tonality lovers out there. It's about whether your words match your beliefs. When someone says something they genuinely believe, like something they know to be true from lived experience, the delivery is completely different because there's no gap between the thought and the statement. There's no retrieval time. It comes out clean and direct because it came from somewhere real. When someone says something they've memorized, even when they believe it's true intellectually, there is a slight delay because the words come out, but they're disconnected. And so the prospect is able to pick up on that within like 4 seconds. The prospect may not be able to articulate what they're noticing, but trust me, they notice. This is why I could close from my parents' attic with a $20 headset and no polished setup. It's because my belief about the offer and my conviction about the other person's ability to transform comes through. That's what I call conviction, baby. And conviction is the only thing that cannot be faked. You can fake warmth, you can fake enthusiasm, you could fake a smooth transition, but you can't fake believing in something. So you're probably like, okay, well, what do I do instead? Because I blank when I'm on my calls and I don't really know how to be conversational the moment the sales call starts. So I said that I would give you the specific thing that I do instead of scripting. Here it is. Before every call, I take like a couple minutes to go through just 2 questions, okay? Question number 1, who is specifically on this call today and what do I already know about why they're here? So if the setter did their job, then you'll have notes. If not, you have whatever context you do have. Use it. Think about what kind of buyer they're likely to be. Are they running from a situation or are they chasing an outcome? Are they wanting to become someone different? What's probably the real reason they're showing up today and what's on the surface? This primes you to start listening for the gap between what they say and what they mean. So you can begin to prepare to be curious about them. The second question I ask myself about them is, what do I believe about this person's ability to change? This question is the most important and the least discussed. If you walk into a call believing that someone won't commit, if you believe that they'll say, no, 10,000 is too much for me, that belief will run your call. The best closers I've ever worked with walk into every call with a specific belief. This person can do this. This person is capable of transformation. All I need to do is help them see it. That belief is the very foundation of convicted language, and it's something that you have to choose before the call even starts. Here's the complete picture. Scripts fail because they separate your words from your intention, and the prospect buys intention, not words. What actually creates a yes is genuine presence, listening, and having some conviction in your language. And all you need to do is ask yourself 2 questions before every call. Why is this person on this call, and what do I believe about their ability to change? The closer who asks this question consistently is the one who breaks through their income ceiling, not because they said something smart or because they had a witty rebuttal. If you want to go deeper on the pre-call prep side, specifically the pain discovery framework and the specific things I look for, that video will be linked in the description. So before you go, I'm so curious to hear, are you using scripts on your calls? And if so, what's the moment where you find that your script tends to break down? I'm so curious to hear. I'll read every single one. If you want to work with me hands-on, the link to apply for mentorship is in the description. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.